guards were actually not really armed, and said to one another that it meant that the war was nearly over and the Japs daren't arm the indigenous people. And talking about when they put the Indonesian guards, the Hay-Hos, were slightly built and small. They walked around the camp, usually smiling and pleasant. They carried guns with apparently, in the Japanese opinion, obligatory fixed bayonets. They're not supposed to have bayonets, apparently, in those, on those things. One day Barbara Lafoletta, one of the Dutch, saw a pig in the lower section of the creek. She asked the nearest guard, to shoot it for food for the camp. He smiled and said he had a gun but no bullets. And Barbara walked up to the guardhouse, and the Japanese guards just ignored her. She returned almost in tears. In the meantime, the pig, apparently fed up with being the centre of attention, got up and walked away. But you'll get more out of that book than you will out of me, because I've probably deliberately, in a way, tried to forget.
Yes.
That was one of the reasons why I wrote the book, to get it out of my system.
What was a typical? What was your routine of a typical day as a prisoner of war?
Routine.
Mm.
Yes. Get up. Go to the bathroom, or where we could throw water over ourselves, and it was a big room.
Yes.
With toilets down one side and shower rooms down the other side, and in the centre was a large tank full of water, which we filled up every day. We went for a walk every day. We were taken. Well, when I say we were taken, the Japs, we walked down to where we could turn a tap on and fill our bucket up. And I think I had a 1 3/4 gallon bucket. It was heavy enough because, as Dr. Smith used to say to us, you shouldn't just carry 1 bucket of water, you should carry 2 half full, because otherwise you're all going to have curved spines. And we said to Dr. Smith, we carry 1 bucket because that's virtually all we can carry. I said if we'd had 2 buckets, they'd have to be half full, so that we would, weren't too heavy for us.
Yes.
And she said, well, you'll have the curvature of the spine, and I said, yes, we realise that. And it did. My X-ray showed osteoporosis and curvature of so many vertebrae.
Yes.
And apparently it's reasonably obvious, but it's never worried me actually. I've been very lucky with that. And no, it's.
And did you have your own? Did you have your own toothbrush? Did you have a toothbrush?
No, we used the husk from the coconut.
Yes.
Because we used to get an issue of. I once could afford to buy a toothbrush, and after that I used the husk of the coconuts.
Yes. Yes.
And
what sort of clothing did you have? What was your clothing? What sort of clothing?
Shorts and sun tops, mostly.
Did you have a hat? Did you have a hat?
Oh yes, they have very nicely woven mats, so we were able to get one, and you just cut it out and bind it with material. So we were lucky that we were given a certain amount of material, and somebody had a good pair of scissors with them, and we could make binding. And so the thing to do was to bind to cut out the hole in the centre of a practically a round one. and there was a hole in the centre, and you just bound it with this material, and you had a crown which was about 2 inches high, which was just a round of the mat,
Yes.
and the round thing to go on top, and just sewed them together, and they were very effective.
What sort of footwear did you have?
Huh?
What sort of footwear?
We had the trompers. When a tromper is a piece of wood, which is a, I wonder what he's doing. Oh no, he's cleaning something. The piece of wood which has a
Strap over the top.
across the toeway.
Yes.
And they're very good. As Dr. Smith said, they're much better for you than the shoes you'd have been wearing as a trained nurse.
Yes.
Much better for your feet.
And who was Dr. Smith?
She was an English doctor, and she had been, we had 2 women doctors. One was Dr. Smith, and she did the sort of the rounds, and then we had a doctor, can't think of her name now, oh, it's in there, and but she was a very pretty woman, and she had ran a surgery, and then we had a German Jewess who was a doctor, and her husband was a doctor too. He was in one of the men's camps, and they were actually fleeing. They were German Jewish, and they were fleeing Germany, and they were taken prisoner. And we never knew quite how to take her, so we practically ignored her.
Yes.
That was.
How many women were in your camp? You know, just as a rough figure.
I think probably as many as almost something like 410 or 510, I've forgotten.
Yes.
But when we went to our last camp, it's in the book anyway, and I think I probably said about 410 or 408, and next day we were 2 less, and that was more or less the routine.
Yes.
You expected that. The greatest difficulty was to get the coffin carriers, and we used to rest the, we had blocks that we could put the wooden poles that we used, and we always had 3, and each one had 6 people, so that we could, it wouldn't be too, and had a lead out, and she was the one who kept the head up, and the one at the back with the hands on it, so that you had 9, 18, you had 20 people to carry out a coffin. Well, by doing it that way, and no one was in any real danger of having damage done to their spine.
Yes.
But I think we all ended up with a slight curvature. I know mine showed osteoporosis and decalcification of a certain number of vertebrae.
Yes.
And
who conducted the burial service? Who conducted the burial service?
We had missionaries.
Yes.
And they conducted, and they did them very well.
Yeah. Were there any Dutch women in your camp as well?
But
in children?
The Dutch kept very much to themselves.
Yeah.
And they blamed the English, and the English blamed the Dutch. And I think there was a certain amount of bitterness. But it really didn't affect us, because we were Australians, and we were army, and when you didn't have the strength anyway to get involved in anything more than what your actual duties were.
Were there any children?
Huh?
Were there any children?
Oh, there were quite a few children, yes, that was a tragic thing about it. Even from Malaya there were several children.